So this is an honor for us to give presentations, to share our presentations about Costa Rica biodiversity and conservation that can be used as a lesson for Indonesia biodiversity and conservation programs. My name is Agus Sofyan. I am from University of Pikeville in Kentucky, and my college is Gina Rosita. She's from Big Sandy Community and Technical College in Kentucky. So this actually a very short study that I did about 1 month. I spent in Costa Rica, and during the visit in Costa Rica, I learned a lot about Costa Rica biodiversity and the way they conserve and protect their environment. And we actually will talk about the tropical forests. As we all know, tropical forests are the forest that's located in the tropical area, which is including Indonesia, Malaysia, Asia, Africa, and also Central America. So Costa Rica is actually located in the Central America. This is a very small country. It only has about 6 million people, populations, and with only 7 provinces. If we compare with Indonesia, it's a big difference. I think Indonesia 50 times bigger than Costa Rica. Maybe this Costa Rica is similar to maybe just part of the Central Java. So it's that big, but only 6 million people live in this place. Tropical forest, even though it's only about 1/5 of the total terrestrial land on Earth, but it is a very important habitat. It is very important ecosystem, because in the tropical forest, it actually give a lot of benefits to people. Not only to about 1.5 billion people that live in the tropical country, like give a lot of what we call the ecological services, which is a free service that's given by the ecosystem. Like for example, forest is the best place for filtration. It filters our air. So we breathe really, really fresh air that coming from the forest. And we drink very, very, very good water, clean water from the forest, because forest soil, it can filter water and give us the best water for us. And other things, like for example, it also give a lot of benefit to the whole world, because tropical forest is actually the main place for what we call the sinks, carbon dioxide sink, which is, as we all know, carbon dioxide is #1 greenhouse gases that causing the global warming. With the tropical forest, this carbon dioxide will be absorbed and give us the oxygen that we breathe, right? That's a very important actually function of tropical forest to the world. So this is actually part of the area that controls the climate changes and also control the global warming, or stop, or at least delay or reduce the global warming. The most striking characteristic of the tropical forest is actually the biodiversity. In the tropical forest, there are so many organisms, so many species. And tropical forest is also known as the hotspots for the biodiversity. So many different type of species, organisms live in the tropical forest. And this is very important because there are many organisms that live in the tropical forest. We actually don't really know their name, but they have a very important roles for example, genetic engineering. There are a lot of bacteria that can be used for genetic engineering. They are also very benefit for medicine. Many of these organisms actually produce antibiotics, drugs that can be used to cure diseases. So it's a very important role actually. And then this Costa Rica country, even though it's very small, they also have very beautiful place with so many diversity in it, so many species in it, and they take care of their biodiversity. They conserve their ecosystem very, very well. So during my visits there for 1 month, I saw people actually really understand what is ecosystem, what is habitat, and they do understand how to conserve it. And also the government really helped them how to conserve this environment and how to make these environments while they conserving is benefit for them, for the economy also. So we're gonna see that what the government in Costa Rica have done to help these people. Oh, doesn't work. Kayak tangan kayak ini. I'm sorry for the technical problem. Okay, so this is Costa Rica. It is in Central America. So it is a very small country. If you see, it has on the west side, it has the Pacific Ocean, while in the east side, it has the Atlantic Ocean. They don't really call it Atlantic because they know it's by Caribbean. So this is actually, they call it Caribbean area because that's the place, we all know the Caribbean. There's a beautiful place over there. So in here, actually live here for about 1 month. Over here, there's a mountain. That's the mountains, the hill is actually located really in the middle. You actually can see the difference from the wind that coming from the west and coming from the east. It's really different. So they call it the continental drift. So they have an area, it's called the continental drift, that you can see the different, this is coming from the west, this is coming from the east. The east side, there has more rain compared to the west side. So it's really different kind of different. You really can see it on that continental drift, the two different kind of ecosystem. Dry ecosystem and a little bit wet ecosystem. So in this Costa Rica, they have many type of tropical forests. So at least 4 of them. First, we call this tropical rainforest. This is the one that we maybe knows about Indonesia. Indonesia mostly have tropical rainforest, which is the forest that always wet because of the rain and usually really humid. That's the tropical rainforest. Another forest that they have is called the cloud forest. This is usually forest that's located in the higher ground, higher area. They similar with the rainforest, but they always wet. The wet is not coming from the rain, but coming from the mist, from the horizontal water. It's not from vertical. No, not from the rain, not from the vertical water, but the water is always there, the mist. Like a smoke, yeah, it's always mist. Every morning, you see the mist, and it's always wet. And really beautiful forest, actually, because they have trees, big trees, that have a lot of moss on the bark of the tree. You can see that's very beautiful, very beautiful. They have also fern. Fern? Paku, the fern. They have what we call the ancient fern. This is actually really tall fern, that if you see the Jurassic Park movie, you see that fern that is actually tall and big, just like a coconut tree, like a palm tree, but it is a fern tree. It's very beautiful. There's a lot of animals, a lot of birds that we can see on this area. It's really beautiful, and they have used this place for tourism. This is one of the favorite destination for people to come to Costa Rica to go to this cloud forest, mostly in this middle area. And then they have a humid forest, mostly in the western part. It's a really humid forest, and also dry forest. Dry forest mostly in this area on the western part. Dry forest, if we think about Indonesia, forest is like a jati forest. You know, jati forest is actually dry or seasonal forest. During the dry season, usually the jati leaf they are fall down. That's because of dry, forest, the dry season. So this is at least 4 types. There are many other types actually, but at least there are 4 types that present in this Costa Rica country. Now, it's freezing. I'm sorry.
Special thing something.
Okay, now in 1940, okay, so about 75% of the land, the Costa Rica land, is actually forest. It's a forest. Okay, it's called the primary forest. Okay, and then no longer after that, there are many loggers that coming to Costa Rica. They start to clear the forest, and they change that forest into agriculture, and they put a lot of different type of crops, mostly like the sugar canes, banana, and then according to the informations, in 1987, about 50% of the primary forests in Costa Rica was destroyed. 50%, so it's a lot. Right? And then in 1996, the government see that devastation, they want to put the forest back. So the government is actually really active in Costa Rica to change this into the primary or the original forest again. So they did, they give many law rules. One of them, for example, it is illegal to chop down the forest in Costa Rica without permission from the government. So you cannot really just clear part of the forest without any permission from the government. Then also Costa Rica follow the guideline from the United Nations. They follow the United Nations Framework Convention for on the climate change or UNFCCC strategies in order to put the forest back. And they follow this part of the convention or part of the UN convention is called the REDD. REDD, which is reducing emission from deforestation and degradations. On this program, actually, United Nations give the country money to grow back their forests. So they give that money, and then the government give the money to the people to grow back their land. So by following this program, Costa Rica actually able to put their forest back, about 50% back. About 60% forest now is growing in the Costa Rica. Of course, because it's only about maybe 30, 40 years ago, the forest that they grew right now is not the primary forest. This is what we call the secondary forest. But it is a good action. This is a good program that developed by the government in order to make that forest back again. So they're actually growing the forest from the land that being destroyed. Right? We compare with Indonesia later. What actually Indonesia do, creating the secondary forest, but what they do is actually they clear the primary forest into secondary forest, which is gonna be, really bad for the biodiversity. Okay, so again, secondary forest is growing. So about 60% today, the land is back again to forest, even though part of them is not the primary forest, but still it's give the place for many animals and different type of plants to growing back on that area. Also, the government, in order to create this secondary forest, they also help the people to kind of give them the business to grow a secondary forest that can produce something. Like, for example, when I visited them, they have several areas that they change it into coffee farm. So they have a coffee farm, but they not only put coffee on their land, but they also put the different type of trees, bigger trees, and also they also put the banana trees, different type of trees, not only coffee. Coffee is actually part of their land, that also they put other plants. And what happened with doing this, they actually conserve their land. Then also actually invited so many animals coming to their land. So it's increased their biodiversity. According to them, there are many birds that coming from the north. It's actually going to their coffee farm to kind of breeding on their area. So it's actually increased not only the trees, the plant diversity, but also inviting other animals to come to growing on this place. And this is also that really good with these people. They barely use the chemicals on their land. They barely use the chemicals. They don't really use the chemical fertilizers. They use their own waste to create their own fertilizer. So again, if compared to Indonesia right now, people use fertilizer. And what happened? When people use fertilizer, they use more and more, and the price of fertilizer is increasing. They cannot do anything, right? But over here, people, they do not use fertilizer. They use their own waste from their farm, and then they recycle it. They use it as an organic fertilizer, and then they put it back to their land to replenish their soil. It is actually very effective because their coffee is one of the best coffee in the world. So Costa Rica coffee, that's actually one of the best coffee in the world. Hey, this is me. So this is not this one. Okay, see that. Hey, this. Okay, thank you for Nita. This is when we visited one of the farm. This is a Karina, so Karina's farm over here, and this is Dennis, her mom. So they have farm. They have cattle. They also have the sugar canes. They also have coffee. They also have some vegetable plant. They use all of this, and then they produce the fertilizer using their own, waste from this land. They use it back. They replenish their land with using this. They don't really use the chemical, right, on their farm. And this is again example how they created their own soil, which is filled with the organic fertilizer, and they use it for vegetable for growing their farm. This is just examples, one of them. And this is another place this is actually family. This is family farm, coffee farm. and they produce the coffee and then they sell it. And government really help them. So government actually have a competition, created a competition for the for the farmer to compete which one actually give more benefit to the environment. So like over here called the green factory, something like that, or green farm. So government actually give the money and also the what you call the award for the farmer that have a better sustainable development or a program on their farm. So it's really government involved in this program in Costa Rica. Another one that also important is how the Costa Rica government use their beautiful place. They do not clear it, but they keep it like that. They change it a little bit, maybe put some hiking trails, for example, for people to come to them to that area, which is ecotourism. And it's one of the money, that they can, actually get from this ecotourism. About 5.4 billion per year. Dollar, this is dollar. 5.4 billion dollar per year is actually coming from this ecotourism. And the way they did it, the way they have done it is very, very important maybe for Indonesia because they have a guide. They have guide that have the knowledge about that place. It's not just, guide that coming, let's go, we know. The guide is really, really, knowledgeable about their area, the name of the plant, the name of the animal, what is the function, the ecosystem. They know. Even some of them is actually graduated from university and they work as a guide. They pay a lot because what? This is the way, they conserve, they manage their own environment, ecosystem. At the same time, they get money. They get money from this ecotourism. So Costa Rica is actually one of the pioneer of global model of the ecosystem in the world. This is one of the, oh yes, 3 more minutes. This is what this is my student. This is the place. This place, actually you can see the whale from here, but I didn't see it at that time. No whale. So blue whale, sperm whale, they can come to this place. This is the guide. So the guide. They all, carry things like, the, what you call it?
But watcher.
So they are very, very, knowledgeable of that area. And this is again, with the guide. This is not the guide. Yeah, this is the I like to, that's the tourist. This is the place for tourism. This is not the guide. This is a tourist that looking for that bird. A lot of beautiful. This is just 2 of them that I put over there. This is another bird, and the bird is outside. Unlike Indonesia, if you want to see the bird, it's in the cage, and they usually die within 1 year, right? Over there, it's actually illegal for people in Costa Rica to put bird on the cage, to put animal in the cage, wild animal in the cage. This is illegal. You can get fined.
They put people in the
Hey, this is another bird. They also have the butterfly farm, and they export the butterfly to Japan and Germany. So they send that. So they have that. This is another biodiversity that we see in Costa Rica. Blue crab, red crab. That's over there. There's a white face capuchin. If you see the night in the museum, you will see that one. Now, but Indonesia have many kind of program also, but right now I don't really see that program is there. And again, if you see this, this over here, this is the difference. I mentioned before in Costa Rica, we make secondary forest from the bare land, the land that has been destroyed. But we in Indonesia, as long as I know, we create the secondary forest, which is the palm oil forest over here, by clearing the primary forest, which is actually a lot of animals, organism also lost. So we have loss of biodiversity in our place because of this kind of activities. Right now, very sad, because a lot of animal and organism lost. And then, as we know, last year, Pak Fadil and Pak Inul Rustanul even talk about how the European country actually put a law that will kind of protects, try to make Indonesia more efficient in protecting their area by try to block the export of the palm oil to Europe. They have a rule, they have a law. And if you still remember, they say that they postponed it for 1 year. I don't know what happened with the law right now, whether the European country really put that law in effect or not. But I don't know. I saw Mas Inul before. Maybe Mas Inul can answer if he's still there, whether the law from European country is already in effect or not. This is how in Indonesia, and this is another things that we know in Indonesia. There's a lot of distractions, degradations of the ecosystem, and I think that's all. So we thank the Kentucky Institute for International Studies. This is actually the one that gave me the opportunity to come to Australia to take some students, and also UPike that also gives some help or support for this study. And with this, I put back to our moderator if you have questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Do you have any question? We will take the first question now.
Question.
Question.
So, in Costa Rica, like, how long it took for them to be able to create this beautiful places that you see nowadays?
Mhm.
Because when I visited Kalimantan
Yeah.
2 years ago, because the forest already been destroyed,
Mhm.
and then they start from basically from zero.
Mhm.
It took them like 2 years ago was 16 years
Mhm.
for them,
Yes.
but still the
Small.
place is not
Yeah.
that big yet,
Yeah.
and the ecosystem is not coming forward. Now all those are not coming back.
Okay.
There are like so many, and also even though it's still small, a lot of the small were cutting these trees already.
Mm.
So how the Costa Rica protected the
Yeah.
trees? Like a logging.
Yeah. Yes. So first, as you saw in this presentation, they started in 1996, about maybe 30 years. But for the forest that they use as a place for ecotourism, mostly is a primary forest. The forest they still conserve it, not the secondary forest. The secondary forest is not ready yet, and most of the secondary forest is actually still used for the business, like economy, like the coffee farm, etc. But they grow the forest. So it's need at least maybe 50 years or 100 years in order to grow the what we call the climax forest. So at least 100 years to create the climax forest, and this has to be maintained. It cannot be you do it and then you destroy it again. You do it. You cannot. You have to leave that forest, that tree grow by themselves naturally. It cannot be kind of take some of the part of the forest for economy or for business. They have to be leave it growing naturally, at least about 50 years, 100 years to create a succession is really a long time. Yeah, it's not just 1 year, 2 years. Yes.
Another question, please. Okay. There we go.
So Indonesia is really huge country to compare to Costa Rica,
Yes.
right? For sure. And again, the from the geography standpoint, they're very similar. Do you think that, I mean, we have failed to protect our ecosystem, especially biodiversity in Indonesia, because it's just too big to manage, or it is just simply a government and policy failure?
In my opinion, I think it's mostly the fails on how our government or also people taking care of their own environment, their own forest. Because many of the rules, the law in Indonesia actually really benefit for richer people. So many places in Indonesia, they're actually owned by rich people. Like many forests, they actually not really owned by the government. So they can clear their own forest if they want it. So many land is not really owned by the government. But in Costa Rica, the government's really going down to the place, and if the people have the forest, they even ask whether you want to keep this as a forest or you want to do something with this one. If they keep it as a forest, government will give money for them. Will give money. And even many places, many people, because of this, what we call the PES, payment for environmental service, that's actually the program that Costa Rica have. Many people actually make their own garden in their place. So they have house and they have a bigger land. They make a garden, and they can invite people to go as a tourist and to see the bird. The bird that I put is on the picture over there is actually coming from one of person that have house and put garden on it. So they just put like a banana, some honey things that make a lot of birds coming. You know what you call the bird that hummingbird coming? That's very beautiful. And we just watch it from his house like this. Very different with Indonesia. You have to. And then most of Indonesians that have birds, yeah, and their cage, they actually don't really know how to take care of the bird. They just give them the food every day, and then after 6 months, 1 month, the birds usually die. And then they buy it again, right? They buy a new one, expensive too. And where they buy it? From people. Where the people get it? From the forest. So then they don't really breed the birds, right? They just take it from the forest. What happened? We lost a lot of bird population. Costa Rica, very beautiful. A lot of beautiful birds. Even they have one place, it's called the Quetzal's Forest. The Quetzal is the name of the bird. Just like Indonesia, we call it, it's the same like a paradise bird in Irian, Cendrawasih. It's just like that, it's the same. It has, they have crest, right? The male bird have crest, and then they have two long tail. Very beautiful, but it's really difficult to see them because they're hiding. And Costa Rica have a special forest for this Quetzal. It's called the Quetzal Forest. I visited there, and then when I got them with my with my camera over there with my cell phone, I was so happy. I can share you my video when I show that Quetzal fly in front of you, and Quetzal. My heart is beating so hard because not many people are able to see that Quetzal. Even my coordinator that came for 5 times on that forest, he said only one time to see that Quetzal. The Quetzal is very beautiful bird, and it's a rare bird, and then it's very antique, unique bird. And again, my heart is beating just like I just see my wife. Nice. And then, no, I, now, another thing, I think Ibu Rafi mentioned about GDP. Yeah, GDP Indonesia about 1.4 billion, trillion, right? Trillion. Costa Rica is only about 97 billion. But the GDP the what you call for the capita is really different. Indonesia is only about 5,000, right? Costa Rica about 19, about 20,000. That's per capita GDP. So they don't have a lot of things like Indonesia. They just have that beautiful place and they can conserve it and then sell it as a tourism area. It's called the ecotourism. If Indonesia can do that, I believe there are so many places in Indonesia that can do that. Rinjani, Merapi, a lot of hiking place is actually can invite so many people. But the difference here in Indonesia, if you visit as American, you pay not double. I don't know how many times. A lot. But over there, no, it's not different. Whether you local people or me, that coming from Costa Rica, from Indonesia, I'm a tourist, I pay the same. I don't pay 100 times bigger than local people. So we have to change that. We have to change that if we want to sell our beautiful place. That's I think my.
Thank you very much. For the second question, Pak Bambang and Pak Tony.
Great, great.